Maverick News. The world is watching. In a universe full of ideas, we draw lightness from the dark to a place where opposites attract. Right meets left, positive touches negative, sparking an explosion of truth. Because politics makes strange bedfellows.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Strange Bedfellows, episode 31. I'm your host, Lori Spencer, along with my friend Rick Walker of Maverick News up there in Canada. How's it going, eh? I heard you got an ice storm.
Well, no, not yet. Some heavy snow coming in some places, but not yet.
Snow?
So hopefully we dodge that. But we have a little bit of snow here today, but nothing major.
I'm jealous. It's already springtime in Oklahoma.
You don't want it. You don't want it. Mm-mm.
Oh, yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do. I love the snow.
I'm Canadian. I have way too much of that.
Right. You guys are tired of it, and we want more down here in Oklahoma. Well, welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you could join us. We have a very special program for you tonight. I wanted to have this man on. We actually have been speaking to each other all week because of the controversy around his interview with Candace Owens that many of you have seen. And of course, you've probably heard by now that Candace Owens was let go by the Daily Wire. I'm not sure if she was fired or if it was a mutual understanding that they came to, but the Daily Wire basically says
she's finally free, Lori. She's finally free.
Free. I think she wanted out, don't you?
Sounds like it.
I kind of think so. But we're going to talk about that with Rabbi Michael Barclay. And also, I think what's the bigger story here that I really want to ask him about is that a growing number of American Jews feel backstabbed by the Biden administration for failing to support our longtime ally, Israel, in her time of need. This war now with Hamas is nearing 6 months. Wow, 6 months goes by fast. But it seems to me and to a lot of people that the Democrats are losing their nerve. And I think they're really worried about losing votes in key swing states like Michigan and Minnesota. Even though the polls show more than 80% of Americans support Israel, Biden now says he wants to reward the terrorist-run government of Gaza with statehood. Now that sounds pretty insane to most Americans and indeed most thinking people around the world. But wait, there's more. Things get weirder still. Last week, Senator Charles Schumer, Schmuck Schumer, as I call him, called for a new government and immediate elections in Israel to boot out Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu from power. Now, Schumer used some carefully chosen words. He said Israel needs a course correction in their government. But what he really meant was regime change. Tonight on Strange Bedfellows, we're going to unpack the U.S. plan for a two-state solution and find out if Biden's betrayal of Israel is going to backfire in the November presidential election. Will pro-Israel Democrats, and there are a lot of them, abandon Joe Biden and vote for more reliably pro-Israel candidates, people like Donald Trump or Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Our guest tonight is a leading American conservative rabbi, Michael Barclay, from Westlake Village, California. And, of course, you know by now he made some pretty big waves this week when he appeared on the Candace Owens show for a discussion on anti-Semitism, which is rising in this country and around the world. The fallout from that interview, which went viral, I think today I looked on Candace's YouTube channel, it's got about 1 million views, and that's just on YouTube. But unfortunately, that interview led to the rabbi getting a flood of hate mail and even death threats. His synagogue has had to beef up security, seeking protection from local law enforcement. Candace Owens, meanwhile, she's counterclaiming that she was also getting death threats from the Jewish mob or whatever after her interview with Rabbi Barclay. So this whole controversy seems to have been the last straw that finally broke the camel's back, and Owens was let go by the Daily Wire on Friday following many months of tension with her employers and especially with Ben Shapiro. So tonight we're going to hear Rabbi Barclay's side of the story and a whole lot more. Something that's really interesting about the rabbi, and this is actually how I discovered him well over a year ago, and our audience will love this since we're all freedom people and anti-mandates here. His temple was the only one in the state of California that did not close down during lockdowns. In California, you know how hard that is. They defied the mask mandates. They didn't require people to wear a mask in the temple. They, didn't require proof of vaccination, and he took a strong stand. And I saw him, I guess it was about a year ago, at the Defeat the Mandates rally out in California. And he made a great speech there. So some of you probably have seen the rabbi before, and I wanted you to check out what he said at the Defeat the Mandates
Please
rally.
Welcome faith leader of the California-based Temple Nur, Simcha, Rabbi Michael Barclay.
What a glorious group of people. And what a glorious and wonderful expression of God's presence in the physical world. I'm not an activist, I'm not a doctor, I am not an attorney. I'm just a rabbi. In Westlake Village, for Temple, we never closed our doors during this pandemic. Jews kept their doors open in face of the Nazis, in the face of the Inquisition, and Gavin Newsom can kitchen by tochas. We never required masks. And God forbid any Jew asks anyone, show me your papers. We need to remember the actions of the ancient Hebrews. We need to remember faith in God, and we need to cry out for Passover, the other name of which is the Festival of Freedom. And so, my prayer for all of us is to emulate those ancient Hebrews in our actions. My prayer for all of us is in order to create a nation of peace. My prayer for all of us is that we may disagree, but we don't become disagreeable. My prayer for all of us is to respect those who we disagree with. My prayer for all of us to create a nation of peace is to have the faith to act in a righteous way and the courage to act on that faith. My prayer for all of us is that we choose freedom, liberty, and faith in order to create a peaceful nation. And so, as is our tradition, Rabbeinu Shalom, Master of the Universe, Osei Shalom Bimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu, V'Kol Yisrael, V'Gam Kol Ha'olam, V'Imru Amen, Rabbeinu Shalom, Master of the Universe. May the one who ordains peace in the universe bring peace and healing upon us, our families, our children, our communities, our city, our state, our nation, Israel, and the entire world. And we always in Judaism, well, most of the time, celebrate with the nigun. If you know it, please join me. Osei Shalom Bimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru, Ve'imru. Amen. Thank you for being kind. Please take care of each other. Amen.
I didn't know you could sing. You have a lovely voice. Good evening, Rabbi Barclay. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now a little bit, yeah.
Okay,
Thank
we
you for
can
your
hear you
kindness.
too.
I only
Very
sing when
nice.
I pray.
Very nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you guys too. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the show. So, Rabbi, where do we start? It's been quite a week for you, for your temple. I forget which day you did that interview with Candace Owens. Was it Tuesday?
It was Tuesday, and we don't need to spend a lot of time. As you know, I did a response video on Thursday after she called me a Jewish supremacist. Her journey is her journey. I was asked to go on and educate by a producer. He asked me if I would go on and give her an education and teach her why people think of anti-Semitism. I went in looking to educate and to build bridges. She went in looking for clicks and a debate and a war. Entirely uninteresting to me. Much more interesting is when you're talking about Schumer, vaccinations, politics, anything that's much more real than how many clicks you use.
Absolutely. Well, I do want to touch on it briefly because the story has become, unfortunately, viral. Not in a good way for you. It might have been good for Candace, for her likes and clicks and donations and her grift, but unfortunately, this had very negative repercussions for you and for your congregation. Can you tell us a little bit about the fallout?
More for me, not our congregation. We've always had high security. It's never
good.
We always have, even at the least populated events, 6 to 8 guys who have concealed carries, and so that's really anyone who is in any position of leadership or in any position of influence, and it doesn't matter what, we have a sphere of influence. We are not responsible for what our audience or sphere of influence does. We are responsible however we act. As I say, the interview was not exactly what I was told she wanted. That's fine. But the next day she decided to double down and say that I'm a Jewish supremacist. Nothing could be further from the truth. I stood with
What exactly is that? What is a Jewish supremacist? That was the first time I'd ever heard that term.
We think that someone who thinks that they are the best or whatever it may be. I don't really want to even get into her stuff. But there have been a lot of death threats. She has seen, and her audience has thousands and thousands and thousands of hate and death threats. And look, she's chosen to go pair herself with people like Nick Fuentes as opposed to trying to build anything. You can see from that video you just saw of me, I'm very much about trying to unify people together. She is not responsible for her audience, but that does not change the vitriolic bile that has come from them directly. You asked me to assemble a couple of quotes. I'm not going to say too many things that are F you, you piece of blankety blank, blanking blank. I hope you get killed soon. You are an effing blank. F your kids with cancer. F you, you effing blank, 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 mother blanker. I will effing destroy you and kill your effing people. First one was from someone named AY at Yahoo. The second one was from someone named Dean Morardi, 781, female. The third one was someone named Garza. Most Jews think about suicide 99.9% of the time. You should try it. Eternity was a long time, and the synagogue of Satan worships you. You will be feeding worms for eternity. Someone actually spent the time to take an excerpt of me from teaching a class, take my image out of the class, and put me in a satanic church with red fire and pentagrams, and proceed to blame me for the colonization of America, that Christianity is a Jewish psyops, and go on. Someone actually spent the hours it would have taken to do that kind of hate piece. The funny thing is, if there was a Jewish cabal, I'd like to know where my chair is, because I'm not getting any. And there is, and so there's just a lot of hate, and that doesn't make the world better. Makes it worse. Every choice we make can either make the world better or worse, and it's very sad people have this kind of attitude. So that kind of answers your question, but it's much more interesting about two states and Biden and Lincoln and Schumer and those guys. So.
Yeah, and we will move on to that in just a moment. But, you know, on top of the backlash, the threats, the hate that you've received over the interview, then Candace Owens got fired on Friday. And now, on top of everything else, it seems like you're getting blamed for that. And I don't think that's fair. I don't really think it had anything to do with you.
I'm not part of the Daily Wire. I'm not part of her
Right.
employers. She seems to be happy about it. So, you know, she might want to say thank you. But I suspect that this was a decision. I would suspect that you don't fire someone in a day or a week, but that you take time. So I really can't even comment on any of that.
Right.
Other than probably inopportune timing in terms of the amount of hate towards me. The irony is there are people who are clamoring to get appreciated and to get applauded for getting her fired. And look, I didn't go on for that. If I had been told she wanted to get in a debate, I still. It's just not who I am. It's not what's interesting to me.
And I just wanted to clarify that because the rumor is out there, as you know, that you had some kind of special power or pull with the Daily Wire that, you know, one phone call from you could end her career. And that is not true, correct?
The most connection I've ever had with the Daily Wire, to my knowledge, is a number of them have reposted things about me. A number of them had said things when last year, when the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, which is a transvestite anti-Catholic group, were being honored by Dodger Stadium, I actually written an article as to how horrible that was. I don't care about their sexuality, but about their attacking Catholicism. Those articles had then blossomed. There was a rally at Dodger Stadium. I actually spoke at it, you know, with people like Jack Posobiec, and Father Bishop Strickland. And unbeknownst to me, someone had videotaped part of my speech, was picked up, and actually had 5 million views, and I didn't even know what it was about. You know, I just shown it's not okay to attack any person of faith in my mind. So even when priests weren't standing up for what I did, I know that some people from the Daily Wire posted part of that speech, not even knowing it was me, not even know the name. Ben Shapiro and I have probably exchanged a half a dozen text messages in our lifetimes. Look, her relationship with her business employer is a relationship with her business employer. And as I said, again, on my Twitter page, Thursday morning, I had done a video to Candace and I think it says everything I need to say. You know, this is during the Lent time. It's a holy season for Christians and Catholics. And for us, it's Purim, you know. So that's just not who I am or what it's about. There are bigger.
I had that feeling, Rabbi, and that's why I wanted to reach out to you and invite you on the program. I don't think that Candace gave you a fair shake, and we wanted to offer you that opportunity. Just so that our viewers who might have missed it, I want to play for them your response to Candace Owens. And if I can get this video to play, I seem to be having a little bit of a technical issue here. Now, let's try that.
I'm Rabbi Michael Barclay, and as many of you know, I was recently on the Candace Owens show. I was invited to be on the show, and I was going with the intention to help you, Candace, understand why so much of what you have said has been interpreted as anti-Semitic by so many Jews. To help you get a deeper understanding through education about why people feel, so many Jews feel the way they feel. I came to build bridges and to hopefully deepen things. But as a friend said, I came to have dialogue, you came to have a debate. I came to build a bridge for understanding and harmony. You came wanting war. That's a choice, and there have been ramifications as a result of that. Comments, lots of clicks for you. But this has also developed into some other things. The very next day on your show, you started your show by calling me a Jewish supremacist, and nothing could be further from the truth. And if you or your staff had done any research at all, and I have a pretty significant body of work you could look at, you would know how really ludicrous that kind of statement is. I have made a point for years, I believe it is my responsibility as a rabbi, to call out Jews when they act unethically. And I, again, have the receipts to prove it, whether it's Schumer, Nagler, Schiff, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Randy Weingarten, Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL. Over and over, I have called out Jews who've acted unethically. That is not the action of anyone who would be a supremacist of Judaism. Moreover, while I believe that Judaism is the best religion for me, I do not in any way, shape, or form believe it is the best religion for everyone. My friend Rob, the best religion for him is Christianity, and I respect that. That's what God has chosen for him. And I stood with Pastor Rob McCoy, Pastor Jack Hibbs. I've stood with the churches when they've been attacked. I know you're entering into Catholicism, that you shared with me that you are in the final stages of your conversion to Catholicism. I stood with the Catholic Church when others didn't, including within the church. I wrote articles about the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence and spoke with Catholics at Dodger Stadium defending the church. I've written articles backing up and defending Bishop Strickland from Texas. These are not the actions of someone who thinks Judaism is better than anyone else or anything else. It's not the actions of a Jewish supremacist. And I think that if you had your staff do that research, you would know that to be true and wouldn't even call me that. But as a result of that video the next day, as a result of comments that you have made, some other things have happened. We are not responsible for our spheres of influence directly. We are not responsible for what our audience does or says, or what my congregation does or says, but we are responsible for our reaction. There has been a tremendous amount of hate, thousands and thousands of comments that you have seen, hundreds of comments you haven't seen because they've come in the form of emails or phone calls to my synagogue that are filled with hate and threats as a result of the incendiary language that you have used on your show and fanning those flames. Things like, F you, you piece of Zionist blank. I hope you get killed soon. That's from someone named AY at yahoo.com. Rabbi Barclay engages in psychosexual gang rape attack on Candace Owens. Anti-Semitism is a direct byproduct of Jews who F children. This is from by someone named Cheryl Uzumari. F you, you effing blank, 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 mother blanker. I will effing destroy you and your effing people, from someone named Shvaza. These are just some of the comments that are public that you could see on YouTube. You can see in the responses to your posts and the comments. Is that really how you want to enter this next step of your spiritual journey, by remaining silent about those kind of comments? And your silence is deafening. I call out someone in my community or that I have any influence over and say that's not an okay reaction. If anyone's called you a black supremacist, if anyone's said a pejorative against you, I would call that out. Is this kind of language what you really want to tacitly approve of by being so quiet, by not telling your audience how you feel about respecting others? We are here in the midst of Lent, a sacred season for many cultures. And is this really how you want to begin your spiritual journey into your new faith tradition? I've repeatedly invited you to come see the October 7th screening that I would set up for you of the GoPro footage from Hamas. I have sent invitation after invitation to your producer and your manager. Just give me a date, time, a couple dates and times and locations to choose from, and we will get it shown for you. As you know, it has to be a private screening, can't be public because of privacy issues with the victims and their families. I'm still waiting and hope that when you see that, you may have a different take on many things. But I really hope that you hear the responsibility that every leader has to react to their audience and their reaction. I wish you a happy Lent, a beautiful Easter, and only goodness and the blessings of the season upon you and your family. Shalom.
You indicated in the interview with Candace Owens that the kind of hate and prejudice that is associated with anti-Semitism, I think the word was mutates. Can you explain what you mean by that? Because I think we're seeing a mutation take place right now. I think we've been seeing a mutation over the last 2 or 3 years, especially during the pandemic. Can you address that?
Yeah, so this comes, and this is a really important piece about anti-Semitism. And again, on my Twitter feed, I put up a video by Lord Jonathan Sachs, who's Chief Rabbi of England. It really is a beautiful 5-minute, and he's much more eloquent than I am. It's an amazing rabbi. Let's just accept that we don't have to go into all the history again. There's this hate, this Jew hate. Okay? What is unique about anti-Semitism, and I actually prefer, honestly, the term Jew hate, but is if that's your major premise of a hater, they can change what they're directing it at. So, and that's what the insidiousness of anti-Semitism is. So the major premise is that this Jew hater, this anti-Semite, hates Jews. A lot of reasons we talked about them theologically, the blood libel, the mistranslation of the of the Vulgate. If they don't have their own faith in Jesus as their savior, if they have a real questionable faith, then their attitude is, oh, well, we should hate the Jews because they must be the devil because they didn't accept Jesus. Well, if you accept Jesus and you really accepted Jesus in your heart, and I have a lot of friends and pastors who have, they've never expressed hate to me. They've only expressed love. They want to convert me out of love, not out of hate. They don't have any anger or hate towards me. They love me. They want me to be in heaven with them. And that's their theology. So any kind of hatred is already antithetical to the actual teachings of the church. But if that's your underlying premise, is this hate. In the Middle Ages, everything was about religion. And so the hate for Jews was about religion. When you get into the 18th through 20th centuries, and Jews are now no longer in the shtetl, the village, they're now in the cosmopolitan areas as well. They're involved in art and science and literature. Then they can't hate us for our religion the same way. But because now what's really popular is the study of a race, they then hate us for our race. And in fact, you can even look in the immigration codes in the early 20th century into this country, where they talk about this race is only this percentage of human and this race is only that percentage. So they hate us for a race. And so now it's not that we're mutating the definition, rather the anti-Semite keeps mutating it so they can show that they hate the Jew without being ostracized. When we get the nation of Israel, 1948, it now becomes, we hate the Jew because of their nation. They have a Jewish nation, and how dare they? The definition is still the same, that a Jew does not have the right to exist collectively with other Jews. But it's expressed as, by anti-Semites, they hate our religion, then they hate our race, and they hate our nation. And now what you're actually also seeing is that they hate us about human rights, because now it's all about human rights. Well, there's no moral equivalency from what happened on October 7th in Gaza. And Israel is the most open society. I found it ironic and sad that the Oscars, with the Academy Awards, they're all protesting for Gaza with the red ribbon, not realizing that was the red hand was the symbol of tearing apart Jews piece by piece after they killed 2 Jews in Ramallah. And that these people are cheering for Gaza, not realizing that nearly every one of them, if they were in an area controlled by Hamas, would be beheaded, killed, raped, etc. for their clothing, their sexuality, their sexual choices, their gender, their politics, and everything else. And Israel embraces everything. One of the most, that kind of says everything about ignorance and anti-Semitism. And I hate to go back to Candace, but I really want to stay away from her. She had said in an interview with someone else that she thought that there was segregation in Israel because the Muslim quarter was where the Muslims had to live. I don't know if you've been to Jerusalem, either of you. In the old city, there's the Muslim quarter, and the Christian quarter, and the Arab quarter, and the Muslim quarter, the Jewish quarter, the Christian quarter, the Armenian quarter. It's just where people have their shops and their apartments going back over 1,000 years. There's no Jews, Muslims, Christians live everywhere together. There's a city called Nofa Galil, North Galilee in Israel, right by the Galilee. It's sacred to the Christian Catholics, it's sacred to the Jews. Sfat is up there, Tiberias is up there in that same area. Nofa Galil, which needs help right now. Nofa Galil is in the north, and they haven't had to deal with bomb shelters. Now they need to. They need generators. And in Nofa Galil, It's a city where Muslim and Christian and Jew all live in perfect harmony in Israel. Israel is a land of freedom and a land of blossoming, where ancient cultures that hated each other come together. Israel is a land where, Israel doesn't consider it a victory to go, God forbid, hurt or kill someone. Israel considers it a victory to make strawberries bloom in the desert. And so,
no. There.
I'm still here.
We lost
you
you for a moment.
Oh,
Your
but I can
sound
hear
cut
you
out for a moment.
Wow, but I can hear you 1,000 times better now.
We can hear you
great.
better now too. I don't know what you did, but thanks.
It was me. I adjusted your mic for you.
Thanks, Rick.
And here I thought it was
Continue.
I started talking about Israel, so it's an amazing, amazing country, an amazing place. We were there this past summer, and we're having breakfast, and there's watermelons and mangoes, and my kids are saying, "Where do the watermelons and mangoes come?" Well, they actually grow them in Israel, and there's so much beauty. To make a comment like, "Oh, it's segregationist," shows a lack of, it just shows ignorance, and
Right.
to stand with it shows hatred. And so the comments about there is no more ethical army. This has been said by military officials for a generation. There is no more ethical army on the planet than the IDF, because as Jews we believe that we're taught that to save a single life is to save a world. So we do everything we can. We don't go in there. We don't risk our own guys' lives to clear out a house of terrorists. We're not doing that because of the UN or because of the US or because of Chuck Schumer or Joe Biden. We're doing it because we treasure life. And there's a qualitative difference between coming on October 7th and beheading people and torturing them and being forced to kill children who are being held as human shields. I have a friend who served in the IDF. He is an amazing man. There are many nights he has to drink himself to sleep still, and this is 20 years later, because he still has the image of when there were two terrorists holding children in front of them, little girls in front of them, and one had a machine gun, one had a grenade, and they started shooting his fellow soldiers in his unit, and he blacked out after he had to do what he had to do to stop that, to save everyone's lives. In order to do that, these poor children had to die. That's a tragedy. It's horrible. And he can't go to sleep as a result. But he didn't make it happen. Those people who surrender their souls, I don't believe in demons. If I did, be a different thing. Surrender their souls are using children as shields. They're hiding behind women. They're hiding behind civilians. And they hate anyone. If you look at any of this intellectually, then you look at it and say there's no moral equivalency. But if you have an inbred hate of Jews, you can just manifest it and say, see what the dirty Jew did, see what the Jew did. And it's really sad and painful.
Last question on Candace Owens, and then we'll move on. I know that you have extended several invitations to Candace to watch the horrible video of October 7th, which I have seen. And I'll never be able to unsee it, Rabbi. It's one of the reasons why I can't, be mad at Israel for doing what they have to do. I know what we would do in the United States if someone had invaded our borders and done that to our people. So has she taken you up on your invitation yet?
So let me tell you I'm pretty simple. I'm not a pundit per se. I'm not a click guy or whatever. I write, I speak. I'm a rabbi. Okay, I get to bless to do weddings, funerals, bar mitzvahs, lead prayer services, etc. I kind of, believe what I believe, and pretty simple and transparent. So 4 months ago, whatever it was, there was an interview between Tucker Carlson and Candace, and it was clear that neither of them understood at all October 7th on an psycho-emotional level. And so I actually, and I have not seen the film and I won't. They have people who can arrange it at great difficulty, but they can, and I know that. And so I actually wrote a public article saying, look, why don't you watch this? And then after you watch it, I'll arrange it for you. Then you can have a dialogue. Never heard anything, that's fine. So on this show with her, I'm asked, I say, look, maybe if you saw this, you might feel differently. She goes, well, I never saw an invitation. I said, okay, I'm inviting you now. I had pinned her down a number of times before she said yes, she would see it.
Right.
And I have subsequently, pretty much every day, sent first to her producer, and then he just left me off to her manager saying, give us a couple of dates at great difficulty from friends who are rabbis, from Stand With Us, and those people. They will arrange, tell us where, when. There's a couple of dates to choose from, the dates, the times, locations, and someone from the consulate will come and bring you the film, which, depending on when you saw it, Lori, they may have watered down because it was just too harsh. It was damaging too many people's psyches.
It damaged my psyche, Rabbi. I'm not going to lie. I've had nightmares ever since.
It was a place where they realized it was sadistic to people who just needed to understand.
Yeah.
I've gotten no responses, nothing but dead air. That's not the funny part. The funny part is the next day, after I was on her show, she actually put out some sort of tweet, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was something to the effect of, Rabbi, I want you to arrange a trip for me to Israel. I'll crowdfund it. I'm going to take 6 of my, which is interesting. She doesn't have the money to pay for her own ticket to Israel. But I'll crowdfund it, and I'm going to take 6 of my reporters, and I've earned the right. And, I want to see the Israel. I want to see with the Ethiopians. What are Ethiopians? I'm not sure exactly what she means. With Gaza, and to spend some time with Netanyahu. And I want you to set that up for me. And I'm thinking, okay, A, I'm not your travel agent. B, you can't afford your own ticket. C, what do you think? Bibi Netanyahu and I have a relationship? Do you think that before Bibi goes into his war cabinet meeting, he says, wait, Minister Galan, hold on a second. I got to call Rabbi Barclay. What? This is stupid. Okay. It's just ludicrous. It goes to this idea of this Jewish thing. I was like, I didn't respond to it because it's just so silly. She is invited. Stand With Us is willing to organize the screening for her and the Daily Wire people, wherever she is. They will make it work. And, I have, again, many unanswered text messages to her producer, Skylar, who then turned me on to her manager, Savannah, who I've texted. I'm not, this isn't about negotiating. This isn't about, okay, you're going to go see a movie if I do this for you or do that for you. You said you see this, go see it. You don't want to see it,
she needs to keep her word.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.